and welcome to the next lesson in Paintabilities, Lessons on Painting from Photographs. In today's lesson, we're going to address a photograph that I have selected for a painting. We're going to look at ways that we can manipulate the photograph using software and other techniques so that we can identify what areas we would like to emphasize, what areas we would like to modify, and how we would like to create our design for our future painting. So let's get started. So in today's lesson, working with a photograph, we're going to be looking at how we want to manipulate our photograph so that we can better create our painting. We're going to look at whether you should print a photograph for inspirational use or view it on a screen. We're going to look at what you should include and potentially exclude from the original photograph as you start to design your painting. Laying out and sketching your painting design. Atmospheric perspective and the rule of thirds, and other tips and tricks. So let's get going. First, let's look at whether you should print your original photograph versus looking at it on a digital screen. You want to avoid painting from a printed copy because you can't necessarily control the colors that come through on the printer as well as you can on a high-definition digital screen. So I recommend that you get yourself a good monitor or screen that shows the most correct colors and values from the original photograph. Zoom in on your photograph so that you can see details. Lighten it to see what's in the shadows if desired. Adjust perspective to remove awkward camera angles. Notice the upward angle of the camera in the photograph on the right-hand side. You may want to change that orientation to be more of a straight-on look, and there's software that can easily help you do that. Most photo editing software that is included with your digital devices is sufficient to do all of these things. So when we're talking about whether you should print versus view it on a screen, notice on the left-hand side, a printer would do things like muting colors, washing out or saturating colors, and not necessarily giving you the most true color look. The digital original on the right is going to help you get a much better look with your painting. Now let's look at tracing versus sketching. Tracing is fine if you are a beginner and just trying to get moving on a painting project or struggle with getting a building or other element shape correct. But over time you'll rely on tracing and never develop the skills to create your own designs. Tracing will not help your observational and motor skills develop, and over time you will rely on tracing and not acquire an artist's natural ability for design and placement. This is acquired through trial and error, practice, and time. A basic sketch of a design creates a structure over which the painting can evolve through color, shapes, values, and brush strokes. I'm not saying you have to become a master drawing artist unless you want to. Just embrace the artistic process and allow yourself to grow. There are many techniques that can assist in the sketching process to improve accuracy and placement. The grid process is one that works very well for me and many others. Turning a color photo to black and white is a great way to find the dark and light areas for the painting. I cut my inspiration photo in half, enlarged each half, and changed it to black and white. Notice the dark areas under the bridge and in the trees and behind the water. Notice the light and dark texture of the rock walls. Notice the coloring behind the waterfall. And notice the dark color of the water. Avoid creating a flat-looking painting by emphasizing these dark and light areas. This will give your painting much better dimension and depth. Next, let's look at something called atmospheric perspective. Photographs have a way of making faraway things look sharp and bright, but for a dramatic painting, you may want to make adjustments by increasing the lightness, dullness, or coolness of distant objects. Adjusting the focus on areas that are in the background mimics the perspective of what the naked eye would blur or soften. It also helps remove details and focuses on colors and lights and darks. The photograph on the left has been treated in such a manner by reducing the sharpness by about 8%. Increasing the brightness and/or contrast on areas that are in the background, such as this rock wall behind the waterfall, pushes the waterfall back and brings the bridge forward. On the right-hand side, you see that we've adjusted the temperature to a much cooler look, bringing out tones of blues and greens. This mimics the wet look of the elements for a better color saturation. So all three of these are great ways to help you improve how you want your painting to look. Now let's look at some more tips and tricks. First, let's address eliminating clutter. In the picture on the left, which is a very pretty park setting, but it's very flat looking with a lot of green space. Adding pops of color with florals, grasses, and other design elements can help make this a more interesting view. Removing trash, weeds, or even people from a photo you absolutely love and want to paint will help you create a much better looking design. The photo on the right is of a beautiful brick garden wall. However, painting every single one of those bricks and mortar lines would not only be a tedious job, but also would be unnecessary. Giving the illusion of texture and bricks by just painting a few in a hardscape photo will help get the perception across without too much overwhelming detail. Here's another tip that will help you with composition. Let's discuss the rule of thirds, having odd numbers of elements, and having flow-through in your design. In my beach day painting on the right, I took a photograph on the left that I liked for colors of the beach design that I wanted. The rule of thirds, or the grids in red over my painting, show you how to break up a painting not only into horizontal thirds, but also vertical thirds, so that you have 9 areas to address. I adjusted the perspective and composition in my original photograph so that it created the painting following that rule of thirds. Details were added to help frame the view and draw the eye in and out of the painting, such as the sea oats and grasses. Birds are in a trio in an odd number in the middle left third. It's a good idea to do things in odd numbers, such as 1s, 3s, and 5s. It's much more pleasing to the eye. The tall grasses are in a vertical right third. The sky is in the top horizontal third. The sea is in the middle horizontal third, and the sand is in the bottom horizontal third. This will help break up a painting so that it has a better composition and the viewer finds it more pleasing to look at. In our next lesson, we're going to begin painting from a photograph. The photo that I've selected is one of Multnomah Falls in Portland, Oregon. It was taken by my husband, David James, who is a professional photographer. We'll talk about sketching and transferring the design, adjusting vertical perspective, removing clutter and details, and adding interest, such as color and framing. Until next time, thank you for watching.